The sound came from beneath the snow. At first, I thought it was the wind. Winter here always made strange noises. Trees cracking like gunshots, roofs sighing under weight, ice screaming as it shifted. But this wasn't that. This sound was deliberate. A slow, wet, dragging noise moved under the frozen surface of the road, as if something heavy was being pulled just inches below my boots. I froze mid-step, breath fogging the air, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. The road was empty. No cars. No animals. Just white snow stretching into the dark forest. The sound stopped. Silence rushed in. Too complete, too clean. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then the snow rose. Not exploded. Not burst. It lifted gently, like a chest taking a breath. I stumbled back, nearly falling, staring as a long, shallow ridge moved beneath the snowbank, sliding toward me. Something underneath shifted again, slow, patient, before stopping directly at my feet. A whisper brushed the air. Not words. More like a memory of a voice. "You hear us now." My phone vibrated violently in my pocket. I yanked it out, desperate for light, for proof, for sanity. No signal. No notifications. Just one missed call. From my own number. And beneath my boots, the snow began to crack. The town looked smaller in winter. Buildings leaned inward as if trying to keep warm. Snow piled against doors and windows, sealing people inside their lives. Even the sky felt lower, heavy with gray clouds that never fully broke. I hadn't been back here in 7 years, yet the cold recognized me immediately. It slid through my coat, into my bones, like it remembered exactly where to hurt. I parked my car near the old bus stop, engine ticking as it cooled. The road behind me was already fading under falling snow, my tire tracks filling in too quickly. That bothered me more than it should have. Winter erased things fast here. Too fast. I came back because of the messages. 3 nights ago, my phone rang at 2:11 a.m. No caller ID. When I answered, all I heard was breathing, slow, uneven, close to the receiver. I almost hung up until a voice slipped through the static. "Don't come back," it whispered. The voice sounded human. Familiar. Then the line went dead. I told myself it was a prank. Grief does strange things to memory. But an hour later, a text arrived. "You never said goodbye." No number attached. No way to reply. Now I was here, standing in a town that smelled like frozen metal and old smoke, wondering why every instinct in my body screamed that I had already made a mistake. The cabin I rented sat just beyond the tree lane, isolated and cheap. The owner hadn't asked questions. He only hesitated when I signed the register. "You staying long?" he asked. "Just a few days." He nodded slowly. "Try not to be out after dark." That was all he said. Inside the cabin, the air felt stale, untouched. Dust lay thick on the table, except for one clean spot, as if something had been sitting there recently. I stared at it longer than necessary before setting my bag down. The silence inside was deep, pressurized. Even the usual cabin noises, wood popping, pipes ticking, were absent. It felt like the building was listening. I unpacked quickly, moving with the uneasy energy of someone who didn't want to get comfortable. Outside, the sun slid behind the trees earlier than expected. Shadows stretched across the snow, long and warped, turning the forest into a wall of black lines. That's when I heard it. A sound far away. Thin. Almost lost to the wind. A scream. It cut off abruptly, like someone had pressed a hand over a mouth. I stepped onto the porch, heart racing. The forest stood still. No birds. No movement. Just endless white broken by dark trunks. "Hello," I called, hating how small my voice sounded. Nothing answered. I told myself it was an animal. Foxes screamed like that sometimes. I knew that. I'd grown up here. Still, I didn't go back inside right away. As darkness settled, the temperature dropped sharply. My breath came out in thick clouds now. I noticed something near the edge of the clearing. Tracks in the snow. Not animal tracks. Footprints. Bare feet. They led from the forest toward the cabin, and stopped just short of the porch. I crouched, fingers hovering inches above the snow. The edges of the prints were soft, not frozen. Fresh. A memory surfaced uninvited. My brother standing in the snow, barefoot, laughing nervously. "They don't like shoes," he'd said. I stood up too fast, dizziness washing over me. That memory had no place here. I had buried it with everything else. Inside, I locked the door and pulled the curtains tight. The heater groaned to life, but the cold lingered. It always did. Winter here wasn't just weather, it was a presence. Patient. Watching. I tried to distract myself, flipping through old photos on my phone. Pictures of summer. Smiling faces. My brother's face appeared suddenly on the screen, and my chest tightened. The lights flickered once. Then again. I looked up just as they went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. "Of course," I muttered, reaching for my phone's flashlight. That's when I heard movement. Slow footsteps. Inside the cabin. I froze, light shaking in my hand. The sound came from the hallway leading to the bedroom. One step. Then another. Careful. Like whoever or whatever was there didn't want to be heard. "Is someone there?" I asked. The footsteps stopped. For a long moment nothing happened. Then a voice drifted out of the darkness, soft and uncertain, as if still learning how to speak. "You came back." My stomach dropped. "I told you not to." The voice wasn't angry. It sounded disappointed. The flashlight flickered, casting warped shadows along the walls. I backed toward the door, heart slamming against my ribs. "Who are you?" I whispered. Silence stretched. Thick. Smothering. Then the voice answered, closer now. Too close. "We were hoping you'd forgotten." Something brushed past my leg. Ice cold. And in that instant, I understood one terrible truth. Whatever had taken my brother hadn't stopped that winter. It had only been waiting. Morning didn't bring relief. It only made the fear easier to see. Gray light leaked through the frost-coated windows, turning the cabin pale and lifeless. The place looked untouched. No overturned furniture, no open doors, no sign that anything had moved through it during the night. And yet, the cold felt different. Not the sharp, biting cold of winter air, but a deep, soaked cold, the kind that felt inside the walls. Inside me. I stood in the hallway for a long time, staring at the spot where the voice had come from. The floorboards were smooth, undisturbed. No footprints. No scratches. Nothing to prove I hadn't imagined it. That thought scared me more than the voice itself. I left the cabin before I could think too much. The snow outside was fresh, unbroken except for my own boot prints from last night. Except, near the porch, bare footprints. Again. They circled the cabin this time. Slow, deliberate, like something had walked around it. Studying it. Studying me. I followed them until they reached the tree lane. There they didn't fade or scatter. They simply sank straight down into the snow, as if whatever made them had gone under. The town knows. The diner was crowded, but quiet in the way only small towns get. Low voices, clinking silverware, conversations that paused when I walked past. I felt eyes on me from every booth. Mary poured my coffee without asking. "You look like you saw it," she said. Saw what? She didn't answer right away. Her gaze flicked to the window, then back to me. "You hear anything last night?" she asked. I hesitated. That was answer enough. Her mouth tightened. They always start with voices. A man at the counter leaned back in his chair. Old. Weathered. His hands shook even while holding still. "Winter makes the ground thin," he said. "Things bleed through." I swallowed. "What things?" No one spoke. Mary finally whispered. the ones who don't belong anywhere else. I asked about my brother. Again. The room shifted uncomfortably. Chairs scraped. Someone muttered a prayer under their breath. He went into the woods, Mary said carefully. And the woods kept him. That's not an answer. She met my eyes, and for the first time I saw fear instead of pity. It's the only one we've got. The symbol. I went back to the trail. The one place I swore I wouldn't return. Snow blanketed everything, but the trees stood exactly as I remembered. Twisted, leaning, their branches clawing at the sky. The air felt wrong here. Sound didn't carry properly. Even my breathing seemed muted. That's when I saw it. The symbol. Carved deep into the bark of an old pine. Half covered by ice. The lines were sharp, intentional, fresh. My brother's symbol. I touched it, and the cold surged up my arm so violently I gasped. Flashback slammed into me. Winter. Night. My brother hunched over the kitchen table, carving that same shape into wood with shaking hands. They don't like it, he'd said. Who doesn't? I asked. His eyes flicked to the window. The ones underneath. The memory shattered as a voice whispered from behind me. You weren't supposed to remember that. I spun around. No one. But the trees were closer now. I was sure of it. Micro-events, the world slips. That night, the radio turned on by itself at exactly 3:17 a.m. Not static. Breathing. Slow. Layered. Many mouths sharing one rhythm. I shut it off. The breathing continued. From the walls. From the floor. From inside my head. When I tried to sleep, my dreams crawled. I stood on the frozen lake outside town. Cracks spiderwebbed beneath my feet. Shapes moved below the ice. Pressed faces, mouths open in silent screams. My brother stood among them. Not drowning. Waiting. You left us, he said. That made room. I woke choking, my sheets rimmed with frost. The mirror in the bathroom fogged on its own. Words appeared slowly, as if traced by a finger from the other side. Come back down. I smashed the mirror. The shards reflected dozens of eyes. The warning. I found Mr. Harlan at the edge of town, shoveling snow that didn't need clearing. His movements were slow, ritualistic, like he was keeping something busy. They wear us, he said when I told him what was happening. Wear us how? Like coats, he whispered. Like voices. Like memories. He finally looked at me. His eyes were wet and unfocused. Winter took my wife, he said. But it still uses her voice. My chest tightened. Can they be stopped? He laughed softly. That's the wrong question. What's the right one? He leaned close enough that I could smell earth on his breath. Why do you think they let you come back? Paranoia. I started locking doors obsessively, counting steps, checking reflections. Sometimes my reflection moved a fraction too late. Sometimes it smiled when I didn't. I stopped trusting sound. The wind whispered my name. The trees echoed it back. My phone rang constantly with no caller ID, each time silence, followed by my own breathing played back to me. The cabin felt smaller every night. The walls bowed inward. The floor creaked like something shifting beneath it. One evening, I found my brother's jacket hanging in the closet. Wet. Smelling of snow and soil. I burned this, I whispered. A voice answered from behind the door. We brought it back. The truth. Flashback reveal. Memory returned in pieces. The fight. The night my brother disappeared, we hadn't gone looking for him right away. We'd argued. He'd accused me of hearing them too. You hear them, don't you? He said. Under the house. I denied it. That was the lie that killed him. Because I had heard them. And I chose not to listen. The guilt cracked something open inside me. And something poured through. The ground responds. The snow outside the cabin began to rise and fall. Slow, breathing waves. The earth groaned beneath it. Voices layered together now. Not hiding. Not whispering. Calling. Come down. Make it warm. Stay. The footprints returned. Hundreds of them, circling, converging, leading to one place. The floor beneath my feet creaked, then cracked. Cold air rushed up from below, carrying the smell of rot old winters and something that had been waiting far too long. And as the cabin lights flickered one last time, a voice I knew better than my own whispered from beneath the floorboards. You were always meant to come back. The storm came suddenly, without warning, a white wall that swallowed the world. Trees bent and broke under the wind, snow stung like needles against my face, and the cabin trembled with every gust. The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Darkness closed in, thick and absolute. I lit candles, but the flames danced unnaturally, casting shadows that moved against the walls, reaching, stretching, as if trying to climb toward me. The air inside smelled of ice, wet earth, and something rotting beneath the snow. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Inside the cabin. Not from the hallway this time, but all around me. Above, behind, beneath. The floorboards groaned like they were breathing. I'm here, I stammered, my voice trembling, almost breaking under its own weight. I won't hurt you. Silence. Then a whisper. Soft, chilling, intimate. You came back. I spun the flashlight. Nothing. Shadows writhed along the walls like living ink. The candle flames flickered violently, then steadied, revealing shapes in the corners. Tall, thin, featureless, faces smooth except for mouths stretched impossibly wide. They didn't blink. They didn't move closer. Yet I felt them pressing against me, folding me into the room with them. Stop! I screamed. I just want to leave. A figure emerged from the darkness. Perfectly human at first glance. Familiar. My brother. His smile stretched too far, eyes reflecting something that wasn't him. Why did you leave me? I didn't. I cried. I tried to find you. You never looked beneath, he said. The words crawled like frost along my skin. You left room for us. The floorboards cracked beneath my feet. I stumbled backward. The walls bulged, breathing, as if the cabin itself was alive and angry. Doors unlocked themselves. Windows warped, turning the familiar into alien. Time warped too. Minutes stretched into hours, then snapped. I backed into a corner. Hands shaking, teeth chattering. The candles flickered and then extinguished, plunging me into darkness that wasn't just absence of light, it was presence. I could feel it pressing against my skin, crawling beneath my nails, curling inside my lungs. Then the voices came. Hundreds of them. Layered. Overlapping. Whispering my name, my brother's name, names I hadn't spoken in years. Voices I knew. They wear us, they said. We are cold. We are waiting. The floor beneath me groaned and split. A hand, fleshless, pale, impossibly long, shot up from the crack. Another followed. They grabbed my ankles, icy cold biting into my skin. I tried to kick, to pull, but it was like struggling in a nightmare made of metal and frost. You can't leave, my brother said, now leaning impossibly close, smiling wider than the limits of humanity. Winter doesn't let go. I screamed. A sound I didn't recognize as my own. My voice cracked, echoed back at me in layers. Shapes poured from the floor, from walls, from the ceiling. Faces pressed through the wood, eyes wide, mouths gasping silently. They touched me, brushing against my skin with hands that were cold and alive. I tried to run, but the cabin twisted. Hallways stretched, doors led to walls, windows opened to nothing but snow and black. Every path forward collapsed, folding back on itself, forcing me back to the center. My own footsteps were echoed, mocked, by dozens of others. Join us, they whispered. Stay. I clawed at the floorboards, teeth gritted, lungs burning. My hands struck something solid, a box, my brother's old journal, frozen in a block of ice that hadn't melted since he disappeared. I opened it, and the pages were filled with symbols, names, and notes in his hand. They come when the cold thins the world. Don't listen. Don't speak. Don't return. Too late. A shadow fell over me. My brother's face merged with others. Faces I loved, faces I feared, faces I was afraid to remember. Their mouths stretched wider, their voices harmonizing into a single suffocating command. You were always meant to come back. The cabin shook violently. Snow slammed against the windows, cracking them, breaking the illusion of safety. The walls bowed inward. Time fractured. 1 second I was here, next second I was somewhere else entirely. A frozen lake, a forested hill, the inside of my own chest. The hands beneath the floor pulled harder. The air hissed, wet and cold. Ice formed across my skin. I could hear my heart pounding against ribs like a trapped animal. Please. I screamed, desperate. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. A hand, long, pale, impossibly human, pressed against my mouth. Another slid over my eyes. The world narrowed to black, cold, breathing. And then I felt it. Not pain, not fear, belonging. Something that should have been unnatural, horrifying, comforting. The last thing I heard, whispered directly into my ear, close enough that my breath hit it, was my brother's voice. You can't leave. Not now. Not ever. The darkness consumed me. The storm outside raged. The cabin groaned. And somewhere beneath the snow, dozens of shapes waited. Patient. Silent. I was theirs, and winter had won. When they found the cabin weeks later, it looked untouched. Windows intact. Furniture in place. No overturned chairs. No signs of struggle. The snow outside was pristine. Smooth, unbroken, as if nothing had happened. But the air felt wrong. Even the search team noticed it. The cold inside pressed indifferently, a living weight. The heater hadn't been used. Candles were melted down to stubs. No footprints except for the investigator's own. The official report said, missing person. No signs of foul play. Likely wandering off into the forest. They left. The snow drifted back over the cabin. Silence returned. But the town knew better. Neighbors whispered in hushed tones. People avoided the road leading to the cabin. Even the diner, the one place that had felt safest in town, fell quiet whenever someone mentioned my name. No one dared ask for details. No one dared repeat the warnings. I wasn't there to be found. Or maybe I was already beneath the snow. When winter comes early, the wind carries voices. Not human voices. They call out to the lost, to the curious, to those who once ignored warnings. Sometimes, people say they hear familiar voices. The laughter of a sibling, the cries of a friend. Voices that call them closer, deeper, into the snow. I hear them now. Not outside. Not through the radio. Not in dreams. I hear them everywhere. Inside my head, inside the walls, beneath the floorboards. I have learned to listen. I have learned to wait. The cabin is quiet. Too quiet. The door is still intact. The lock still works. From the outside, it is safe. Inviting even. Inside, the snow has crept in, thin and white, covering the floorboards. Shadows crawl along the edges of the walls. The symbols carved into the tree outside are still visible from the window. Their lines sharp and perfect, as if freshly carved. Sometimes, the candlelight flickers. And when it does, the shadows shift. Stretch. Watch. And then I hear it. A whisper. Familiar. Close. Patient. You can't leave. I no longer resist. I cannot. Winter does not forgive. Winter does not forget. I speak softly now, answering in the way they demand. Yes. 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 The town moves on. The search party left. Life resumed elsewhere. Roads cleared. Mail delivered. People walked past the cabin without looking inside. But they still know. The warnings are unspoken. Hints, a sudden hush, a door closing on its own, a car skidding on ice where there is no reason. The snow carries voices, sometimes a child's laughter, sometimes a brother's sigh. People shiver, glance behind them and whisper, "Better not go there." They don't know the truth. That I am still there. Watching. Waiting. Learning. lingering unease. At night, if the wind is right and the snow drifts thick enough, you can hear it. The scraping, the breathing beneath the frozen surface. Something moves, slow and deliberate, waiting. Footsteps appear where none should exist. Tracks form, circle, converge. And if you are foolish enough to step too close, you hear my voice, calling, patient. Come back. The final truth lingers, heavy and cold. Winter is patient. It always waits. And nothing escapes it.